Welcome to another mazplay video. This is MazMojito, and today we're going to be getting into a new space survival style game. It's kind of like Subnautica in space, and this is going to be the pilot episode. We're playing Astrometica. Let's get to it. Alright guys, so we're jumping right in here. Now, Astrometica is a game that I tried out in the demo, really liked it, and then signed up for the playtest. So this is actually me doing the game in a playtest mode. Now, the actual release of the game is supposed to be sometime this year in 2024, but they haven't given a month yet. So I like what I'm seeing so far. It's very similar, like I said in the intro, to Subnautica. You have a couple crafting machines. You have different things that you can put together. You start off in a habitat. You're in deep space. And yeah, most of the resources are floating in space. You just kind of like go up to it and grab it. Get enough of certain types of resources and you can craft certain recipes. It is through the person's eyes, except for when you're doing the vehicles, and then you can go into third person mode. So if that is something that you have difficulty with, this might be a game you'll struggle with as far as the first person view. You are kind of floating in space, so there's a lot of, moving up and down, left and right just to get to the resources. Now, the key survival points that you have to worry about is obviously your oxygen level, which is flashing on screen. It goes down pretty quick, honestly, until you build the right equipment to improve it. You also have to deal with your hunger level, and you have to deal with your water level. So your typical things for survival. And in this workbench here, you can craft different things. You can build bigger and better workbenches, which is going to unlock more recipes for you to craft. And it would also allow you to build tools you need in order to build habitats and bases. So just like you can do in Subnautica, you can basically go out, find a good spot that you want to build a base and start putting habitats together and linking them with corridors, and eventually build habitats that allow you to build vehicles, so that you can explore the space in a lot easier situation where you're not having to deal with oxygen, because some of the vehicles in here will have contain oxygen, so you don't have to constantly worry about suffocating while you're out exploring. Common resources, you're going to have iron, you're going to have copper, you're going to have water, you're going to have quartz. And then you're going to have some food, MRE type stuff floating around in space. You can get that. So pretty much everything you need starting off is going to be floating around so that you can build the basic materials. Now, it's one of those games where you need to build something. In order to build that, you have to build like maybe the components that will help you get to the final product. Most of the pieces are broken off in small enough parts where you can just kind of float close to it and pick it up. Some of the pieces are still part of a larger rock or asteroid, which you'll either need a mining axe to chop it down to smaller chunks, or eventually you'll be able to get larger drills where you can go to the planets, the bigger size asteroids, and get bigger chunks. So we don't have the mining axe right now, so what we're going to do is just kind of go around and pick the ones that are floating. Pick those up by hand and just keep going back to this starting habitat that they start you off in, and keep using the crafting machine there to build stuff. Now, they do give you 2 storage chests, so you can manage all the extra stuff that you're picking up, and that way when you need it for a recipe, you can just kind of jump to your storage chest and get what you need to get out. I like to typically fill up as much as I can on like the most common resources: iron, copper, quartz. And once I get a decent amount of everything, that's when I go in and start doing some crafting. So for the first part of this game, it's going to be pretty much me out in space, picking up as many resources as I can before I actually go and craft enough stuff where I can do a little bit more exploration farther away from the starting habitat. Now, with my oxygen level being this low, I can't really go too far before I start getting the warning that I'm about to suffocate. So I'm going to limit my collection to just around this starting zone. And as you can see already, my iron is getting pretty full. And that chest is filled up. I have some food and water in there. And now I have an empty chest here. I'll probably start putting all my copper in there. Now, copper is very important, just as important as iron, because you're going to need it to make copper wire, which seems to be an ingredient for a lot of things in this game. So now that we've gotten quite a bit of iron, we're going to start focusing on collecting a bunch of copper. And if I see coal, I'll grab that too, because that's usually you can only get those out of the big asteroids. There are not that many smaller chunks of coal floating around. All right, so now that we got quite a bit of good starting materials, we have up there some things that I'm keeping an eye on as far as resource requirements. Looks like I can build a jetpack now. I can build a mining tool. I can build some oxygen expanders, and it looks like I can build a bigger backpack. So I got all the different items, at least the recipes queued up there in the upper left. I'm gonna go ahead and build all those subcomponents and make sure I can get all those upgrades for my character. So mining tool is gonna allow us to actually break down those bigger rocks. You actually don't use a mining axe in this game. That's actually Astral Colony or a different game. But in this game, the mining tool kind of does the same thing. The only problem with the mining tool, I think it's, and most of the tools on here, it's battery operated. So after you use it for a while, you do have to either change the battery out or get it recharged at a charging station, which I currently don't have. But once I build a new base, a new habitat, I'll definitely make sure that that's going to be part of the station. So we got our mining tool out. It's more of a drill than a hammer. We're going to try to find a decent size resource rock that we need and give this mining tool a whirl. So I don't want to get too far away from the base, but as you can already see, I did some upgrades for my oxygen. So my oxygen is actually going down a lot slower than it did. So I'm actually able to get a little bit farther away from my habitat without getting a warning on my screen saying my oxygen level is low. I do want to get what I need to make my backpack bigger, because I do tend to fill up pretty quick, and this is going to allow us to carry more before we have to go back to base. We'll pick up these organics here too, because the organics are ingredients that you need to actually make food. So you'll see these floating all around in space as well. All right, so we'll head back and we'll see, based on what we got, we should be able to make the backpack now, because it looks like we have all the resources. We'll drop off the extra stuff that we don't need. Then we have enough for 2 of the 3 components. Actually, all 3 components looks like we have enough. We have the actual ingredients, if I'm reading that correctly. Here's an interesting chunk, so we're gonna go ahead and get some gold out of this. Now, gold is a material that you'll need for a lot of wiring and electrical work, but they're usually not floating out in small chunks in space. Usually you'll find these asteroids with these gold spiky minerals on them. So as you can see, the drill's already down to about 70%, but the gold ore is about to break apart. There you go. So Out of that, it tells you in the bottom left how much gold you got. Looks like I got +3 on the gold. The resource that you get out of it will appear in the bottom left. I got iron and copper out of that. And now my oxygen is flashing, so we can pretty much go around and keep doing this. Now, the only bad thing is that the drill loses energy really fast. So until I get some batteries, some backup batteries, I'm going to be constantly running out of power for this drill. Okay, so it looks like my water level is starting to run a little low, so I think I need to go ahead and convert some of this ice over into water, and then convert some of the organic material I found into food. We'll take a look and see what we got in here. And this is why I like to stock up on resources, so I can just kind of look to the left or right and grab what I need out of the treasure chest that I have the resources. So much of this game relies on crafting like the subcomponents before you can build the bigger object, very similar to the other style games. But that's why it's important to just kind of collect all those different resources that you find out in space until you just don't have any space. But backpack space in this game is very important. You will find yourself running out of space constantly. Now, I actually played this game quite a bit to the point where I actually had a full-on space station and vehicles, and then that was during the demo, but there's been so much added for the playtest. I just wanted to give this another try and see what's different for the demo. All right, so here we have a terminal that's going to give us a hot point, or at least a marker on the map, as you can see, 130 meters away. But I suspect that as they get to the point where they have the early access release, that terminal is going to show a lot more missions, primary missions, probably some secondary missions, you know, side quests and all that kind of stuff that you can do. But for now, we're going to just go straight over there before our oxygen zeroes out. Now, these guys here are mines. You get too close, they will kind of track towards you. They're like magnetic mines and take some damage from you. So took a decent chunk of damage, not too much. But the good thing is those things leave components behind when they do blow up. So the trick is to try to get them to blow up away from you. Sometimes that's a little hard to do.
Warning.
Now, when you get into the inner parts of the asteroid, sometimes you'll see like in this case, it needs a power cell to open up the space. Sometimes you'll see little crevices on the inside of the mark. Those usually will have resources inside of them, like you see there, the oxygen one that I got earlier. And I made a couple spare oxygen tanks just because I knew I was going to be far away. Now I'm just trying to get this one's attention See if I can get it to attack me, but I don't know what's going on. There we go. I think you have to be in front of the eye for it to attack you, actually. You see, the game's pretty colorful as far as the different asteroids and stuff like that. Some silver, another rare resource. You'll see a lot of these kind of containers floating in space. They're just basically like treasure chests floating in space. So that's a good, easy way to get a lot of resources as well, if you can find these chests. The only thing I don't like is... Okay, I was going to say the only thing I don't like is if I remember, when you loot them, they don't disappear, but it helps. Actually, when you empty them out, they do disappear, so at least you don't have to worry about did I clear everything out of that or not. Now, these ones, I think, do not disappear. And that is actually something that I need to get into the base. So now I have to either eat or drink to free up a backpack slot. So as you can see, when I got the item out of that, it did not disappear. So that can be a little confusing if you're trying to track what you have looted and have not looted. My inventory is full, but we're going to go ahead and open up this habitat. It's at 100% power now. And there you go. You see my oxygen level just filled up to 100%. So we're now in a self-contained zone where we have plenty of oxygen. And it looks to be some kind of old base. We got a treasure chest here full of some materials that we don't have room for right now. We could probably slide some stuff into that treasure chest if we want to get some items there. I don't like that things don't stack. So maybe that's something that they'll change in the future, where they'll actually allow resources to stack. Even if they let them stack in like 10s or 20s, that's better than just having one resource take up one slot in your backpack. This is part of the little playtest mission. Kind of gives you a little bit of backstory and gives you your next mission marker. I just unlocked a new blueprint, as you can see on the left. We have a couple things we can build. Now we can actually start building a base since we unlocked the habitat parts. And as I said before, I am low on space, so I'm either going to have to waste water or food by drinking it right away, or put it in the treasure chest only to come back and get it another time. So there are 2 nightstands here, both of them full of stuff, but again, I don't have any backpack space to pick that up. Got some lockers here. Usually that's going to have some food or some important items. There's a key card in there, some food and water there. And I already looked at the data pad. That gave me a new mission marker on the map. That's why you see 3 mission marker carrots on my map now at the bottom. And we're just going to use this storage container out here to hold some excess stuff, so we can pick up the things in here. The fabric, obviously, we can use that to craft cloth-like materials that we'll need for buildings in the future. But pretty much everything that you find here in this game will have a purpose. And we got a key card, so that should open up a door either somewhere here or at our next station that we got to go to. So we're going to continue to explore this abandoned habitat, and then from here we're going to head back to the base, or if we have enough oxygen reserves, maybe we can just head straight to the next destination. As you can see, my power level is really low on the drill at 11%, so I will have to somehow get that recharged through crafting some new batteries or something like that. Alright, so even though we left the habitat, we're still in the oxygen controlled area of the asteroid, so I'm able to walk around here. There's plenty of silver in here, which is a resource that does not really float in space, so this is a good place to pick that up. We got a treasure chest here, which again, I don't have any space for any of these items, so there's a nice little opening over here within the asteroid. As we take a look over there, some more resources here. Now you have to duck to kind of crawl through this small spot here, but it looks like a wrecked piece of machinery, and another part of the habitat, kind of a back storage room. Now I don't have a scanner tool, which is telling me to use, but there is a asteroid fragment that I guess I can get some information off of. You will have quite a few of these little construction elements here. Can't remember what resource that was. I think it might have been sulfur, but certain resources are hard to get unless you know exactly where to go. From what I learned in the demo, a lot of the basic resources are floating in space, but many of the more advanced resources you actually have to go into like a space station or find them in the treasure boxes that float out in space. Now the iron bars is going to be the same as the iron ore. Again, I just don't have any space for that, and my power is really low on this drill. We got a big chunk of silver here, just like we have them in gold floating in space, but the actual chunk of silver that I know of is actually here in this space. So I guess without any backspace, we're going to go ahead and head out. Okay, now that I'm back at the habitat, looks like I have enough of the subcomponents I needed to build some of the things that would allow me to finish off my backpack and a shield module. So I'll go ahead and get those things built and slide those into the right slot on my character model. Now having a bigger backpack, that's going to be huge. As you can see, it already gave me kind of like 2 more rows of space for items that I can carry, so that's going to help out when I go back to the space station, or at least the habitat and the asteroid that I was just searching. Anything else that I can leave behind, I'm gonna go ahead and leave behind, but yeah, the goal is to get enough information, enough resources. Here's all the crafting things I've unlocked along with their ingredients. We really want to start building a base here farther away from the starting one, because I don't think the starting one will allow you to really add on to it, but at least something probably somewhere in between the starting habitat and the asteroid base that I was stopping off at. There's quite a few things, quite a few blueprint categories that you can unlock, but a lot of it is not released yet, so probably going to see a lot more things you can build in the future. Okay, so once I get enough components to start building my first habitat, what I'm probably going to do is kind of find an equal distance between the starting zone and the asteroid base, and then start building from there. Probably something that's kind of like a good halfway point between those two key locations. But for now, I think I'm gonna go ahead and put a bookmark in the video and come back in future episodes and continue to work on building up an actual outpost, just like we do in Subnautica and other games like that. So I hope that you like what you're seeing, and as usual, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. Please remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe because it really helps out the channel, and we will see you in the next video.